and that means catching a lot of fish. Like all birds of prey, sea eagles are wary. They've inherited this sense of caution from long experience, having suffered ruthless persecution at the hands of Norwegian fishermen who saw them as competitors. For years, they were treated as vermin, to be trapped and destroyed. Recently, a more enlightened attitude has prevailed, and breeding success has increased their numbers significantly. Come spring, and another of nature's air force is patrolling the Scottish valleys. The osprey left the previous autumn to feed in Africa, but now it's returned to breed. The osprey is a fishing bird, hovering over the water to track its prey. It's the largest bird in the world that can hover like this. It dives down feet first in search of pike, trout, salmon or eels. As the osprey enters the water, its wings fold back, and its feet thrust forwards to grab the fish. This time it was lucky, but ospreys are only successful in 1 out of every 6 dives. It may take 2 hours to make a successful dive, so while the male is fishing, his mate is doing nest repairs. Ospreys start to breed at 3 years old and mate for life, returning to the same nests each year. The male provides for the whole family, his egg-burdened mate being too heavy to hunt. And in any case, as nest sites are passed on from generation to generation, now's the time for her to be spring cleaning. Ospreys were once heavily persecuted in Scotland, and by the 1920s they were extinct. But in the 1950s, breeding pairs coming in from Scandinavia began to recolonize the area. They'd been accidentally swept west during their spring migration from Africa, and their numbers have continued to increase. There are now over 100 pairs in Scotland. Good nest sites are much sought after, so the pair must fend off intruders with special calls and aggressive aerial displays. Alerted by the female's calls, her partner storms in, and the battle for the skies begins. The battle is in earnest. With 5 months invested in breeding each year, the resident male must make sure he passes on his genes. One way to make sure you're the father is to mate as frequently as possible, up to 200 times in the 3 weeks prior to egg laying. And as a shortage of food would make the mate unreceptive, he must also weigh the risk of being absent whilst hunting against the advantage of being near the nest to see off rival males. When catching fish, ospreys keep their head aligned with their talons. This ensures the prey is kept on target. Their eyes have special polarizing filters, so they can see through the reflective surface of the water. To hold on to prey, their feet have been greatly modified. Their front toes are reversible and act like a human thumb, and the surface of their feet is as rough as sandpaper. Ospreys close their nostrils as they enter the water, diving a metre below the surface. Once a fish is caught, it has little chance of escape. They're so supremely well adapted to catching fish that they can be found all over the world and hunt equally well in seas, rivers or lakes. On occasion, they'll even catch small mammals, birds and reptiles too. But fish are the mainstay of their diet. Ospreys are uniquely well adapted to digest fish. They're so good at it that they rarely regurgitate pellets of waste bones or scales, as other birds of prey must do. Each adult osprey must consume up to 400 grams of fish per day. And as food is also brought back for chicks at the nest, this hunter has its work cut out. It's now June, and the chicks are 6 weeks old. They offer hope for the continuing survival of the species. Since the 1950s, Scotland's ospreys have been a success story. They're an international example of what can be done, given enough motivation, to bring a species back from the brink of extinction. Almost all animals time their breeding for when prey is in abundance. Raptors are no exception. It may seem unusual for a bird of prey to hunt insects. But these European hobbies have evolved to hunt on the wing. They specialise in trawling for dragonflies, at times hunting little else. The hobby's long, pointed wings create the speed required to chase small, fast and manoeuvrable prey in open country. In slow motion, you can see how the bird keeps its eyes on the prize as its talons extend for the catch. Dragonflies may seem like an unusual diet for such a nimble hunter, but they provide easy, abundant pickings in the skies over these heathland ponds. As insect numbers decline later in the summer, hobbies will switch their attentions to larger prey, like woodland birds. But for now, the pickings are easy. Insects don't just attract the attention of birds of prey. They also provide food for millions of songbirds, which in turn attract highly specialised killers. Sparrowhawks, found all over the